Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
There's no parole from the Ratcatcher.
We've got Chris.
Don't call me Chris. I am the fever god.
I'm Kia. Hi. Welcome to the show. We're in some weird Batman comics today. That's what these quotes are from. We're also continuing our long read of Superman for all seasons with issue 4. It's wintertime over there. We're gonna get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's
with
jump
winter, everybody's favorite natural disasters, floods.
Floods. But it's Batman time here. We're reading some Batman comics from the 80s by Alan Grant. Alan Grant passed away recently.
Yes.
Is that right? Yes.
Not to be confused with Dr. Alan Grant from Jurassic Park, but a lot of people were DC has been having a rough year with a lot of DC old timers. But I had never really heard of Alan Grant, but people were talking like very fondly about him, and I'm like, oh well, I should really check out this guy's comics. They sound good. Apparently, he created The Ventriloquist, Ratcatcher, some other.
I've never heard of Ratcatcher.
Ratcatcher's child is in the new Suicide Squad movie, and it's a pretty good character, which I guess is James Gunn's testament to like I can make any obscure character good.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, sure, and. And I know Chris had been reading a lot of 80s Batman recently, so he picked out this particular arc, and I was like, okay, this sounds good. I'm not really familiar with this era. The last Batman I think we read in this kind of era was either Death of the Family, and then a lot of like the Frank Miller stuff we've done, but that's not really what Batman was doing at this time. Although this is post-crisis.
Yeah, and I should say it's not really an arc so much as just like two different 2-issue stories, spread across 4 issues here. I don't know if maybe eventually they connect and Scarface and the Ratcatcher team up. No, probably not.
I'll give away my ending though. If I had randomly acquired 2 issues or these 4 issues, as it were, from grocery stores or something at the time, I'd be like, this is fucking weird, but it's fun.
It is fun. It is.
Yeah. Yeah, this is his first 4 issues on Detective Comics, and then he comes back and writes Batman some in the 90s a little later. And most of it is like this. There's a lot of done into. There's not a lot of. I mean, there's a little bit of continuity with Commissioner Gordon, but like, there's not. You're not like, oh, who's this? Who's that? Like, it's pretty much just like there's Batman. There's whatever crime he's trying to deal with.
Pretty focused. Does he not really deal much with the family at all, like Robin and them?
Well, this is a weird time. 89 is he's kind of in between Robins because Tim Drake shows up in about 2 years, but this is where Robin Jason Todd is gone, is dead, and then he doesn't get a replacement for a few years after Crisis. So like this issue, we covered. Detective Comics 575 because it's Batman Year 2.
Okay, so we've been right here. Okay,
so
Mike Mignola had done the cover, so
yeah, we had done stuff that was earlier this year. They're kind of setting up, and there's a lot of like Frank Miller influence where like you can actually have it's a little more violent. There's not really anybody with supernatural powers or like kind of craziness. This is, I mean, they literally did adapt these first 2 issues into an episode of the Batman animated series, so it's
yeah. And I don't think I actually said the issue numbers here. It's Detective Comics 583 through 586. But Detective Comics 583 through 586, they are co-written by Alan Grant and John Wagner. Have we read anything with John Wagner?
I don't think so. Their names flip, by the way, after the first 2 issues. I don't know if that's a credited thing, probably.
Maybe they just decided to take turns. Who knows?
Yeah. Lennon and McCartney, we're always going to, whoever's...
We have art by Norm Breyfogle as well, who, again... maybe that name sounds familiar because we said it last time, and it's a name that sticks out. But I don't know if we've actually read anything by them either. But let's just jump right into it here. Detective Comics number 583 starts off with just kind of letting us know that Gotham is seedy. Hey, did you know that? You just like see some bars, see some dingy old nightlife, that sort of thing. You've got some goons being dragged away to the boss. There's like a ventriloquism place in the background. Nice little foreshadowing of what we're going to run into. And on the streets, these kids are taking this new drug called Fever. And you can buy it. $5 gets you 4 pills. That's a pretty cheap drug.
That's a pretty good deal, right?
and
That's the cheapest drug there is.
It's a pretty good deal. And they are going like wild on this stuff. They take it and they're just like, holy shit, I'm so fucking invincible. And they're like,
it's a real bath salts situation.
Yeah. And this poor old cop, he's like an 80-year-old cop with a big white beard. And he's like, hey, you kids, what are y'all doing? And they set him on fire or something. They beat him up and
he interrupts them trying to kill a cat.
Yes, that's right. Oh my God, these terrible kids. And he's basically dead. Batman shows up and like beats up the kids, gets them to stop.
But Batman, to be fair, and I think it is kind of unique for this. He's like, these are kids. They're drug users. They are not. They are victims here also. Like Batman does recognize that. Like he goes easy on these kids. He's not like beating up drug-addled kids for fun.
Yeah, we I don't think we learned their age in this scene, but later on, someone mentions that one of them was 10 years old.
The youngest one was 10.
Yeah, the youngest one was 10. He's talking to some other cops who show up afterwards, and they're like, "Man, we've seen younger. We had an 8-year-old who was hooked on this stuff the other day." I'm like, "Geez, that's
It's pretty real for my my Batman comic, but you know,
that's pretty real." Yeah. And the cops know where this stuff is coming from, but they haven't been able to actually get anything done with it. Like, as soon as they go try to raid the place, they flush the drugs down the toilet, as you do.
You do flush all your criminal evidence down toilets. That's what we've learned.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
I love how mad Batman is at the cops. Like, you know where this is coming from?
Yeah. You haven't done anything? And they're like, Batman, we tried, I promise.
Batman is very surprised by the drug problem in Gotham, or maybe just this particular drug. He's got a lot of faces with like cartoon like lines coming off.
I love Breyfogle's cartoony art. Yes. I think it's great.
I do too. There's more than a few scenes in here where Batman has that kind of cartoony like look on his face. We'll point them out for sure. I love them. But meanwhile, these two goons from earlier, they're talking to Scarface. One of them is Fat Man, is his name. The other one is I didn't get his name, but he's also a fat man, and so I don't know.
Yeah, they're equally fat.
They're equally fat, but one of them is actually named Fat Man. They're talking to Scarface, and Scarface is all mad at them for not doing a good job with the drugs or whatever. This is the first appearance of Scarface, by the way, with the ventriloquist dummy and everything. His B's all come out sounding like G's because he's a ventriloquist. I thought it was a typo the first time I saw it, and I was like, "Oh no, this is a bit." Okay, cool. And I mean, it did make me think. Scarface, like, this came out a few years after the movie Scarface, and they just said, "Yeah, let's just name this guy Scarface." It'll be fine.
IP's not protected by Brian De Palma.
I guess not. I don't know.
The ventriloquist. It's funny because Batman's like, the ventriloquist, I have to get him, but it's like everybody in the gang is like, well, Scarface is our leader.
Yeah.
I do like that. I like that Batman, like, because I think, I mean, I don't really know that many ventriloquist comics, to be fair, but I know, like, I don't think the human part knows what's going on, or there's like a psychotic break, or at best, or there's actually supernaturally like the dummy is alive. But I like that, like, we don't know the score yet in that story. Like, so Batman actively is like, and we haven't gotten there yet, is going to fight the ventriloquist, not the dummy. I find that very funny.
Yeah. Have you seen the new it's the like last season of Batman the Animated Series with the ventriloquist episode, Vince?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's one of the best. I don't think the new Batman is quite as good as the original Batman the Animated Series, but that episode is like one of the top 5. There's a couple of really good episodes, and that's one of them. It's basically ventriloquist is like cured, and then he starts getting like phone calls and like hearing the Scarface's voice. Cool. And then Batman's like, is this like magic, or like what the hell is going on? And then it basically, to spoil a 20-some-year-old episode, it's basically Rhino, who's in this issue as well, is like trying to get his boss back by being like, I knew if I just kept driving you insane, you would become Scarface would come back.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Rhino's like a henchman in this thing. He's not the Spider-Man villain, Rhino, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's just a buff guy who picks up one of the fat guys, and then Scarface just starts shooting it with a Tommy gun. Like he has to drop the fat guy so he doesn't also get shot.
Yeah. So yeah, spoiler. One of the fat guys says, like, he talks smack about the dummy. He's like, "We're talking to this piece of wood. What is this?" And yeah, Scarface gets mad, shoots him with his little Tommy gun. And then he sends Fat Man to Tijuana to go pick up more drugs. And Ventriloquist is like, "Oh man, I like Fat Man. Why's it gotta be this way?" Scarface is like, he's outlived his usefulness. He's messing up a lot. Besides, a man that fat can hold a lot of drugs. I know, I don't know. I didn't know exactly what that meant right now, but we'll learn what that means pretty soon.
We're gonna learn that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the little drug house, Batman sneaks into the place. They've got like a big metal door on there. He plants some explosives on the door, and he's gonna blast it open. But some other kids are like coming up to the door, and he's like, "Get down!" and tackles them. It doesn't really seem to have any consequence though, because he busts in.
That's a classic Arkham move, though. You draw the Bat logo in like whatever like bomb liquid you have, and then you detonate it. That's what you do.
Oh
in
yeah,
Arkham
pretty good.
Asylum games. Yeah,
It's pretty good. The one guy tries to go flush the drugs down the toilet, but Batman goes and gives him a swirly instead, knocks his head out of the toilet.
Bully Batman.
What a bully. And he's like, "Give me a name." And they tell him Scarface. So on to the second issue here, Detective Comics 584. Fat Man is in Tijuana to see where the stuff is being made. He's supposedly going to be taking 20 kilos of this fever drug back to Gotham, and just 1 kilo is worth $500,000 on the streets. But Customs has stopped every shipment, so he's like, "How the hell am I going to get 20 kilos back to Gotham?" And the dude in Tijuana was like, "Hey, this is how. We've got your death certificate right here." And so they choke him out, and they cut him open, and they stuff him full of drugs. Incredible.
I'm
I don't think
the
I've...
markup though.
Yeah.
So like, because we're
I
selling,
don't know how their business works.
We're selling what 4 pills for $5. That's $1.25. How many pills are in a kilo to then put 20 kilos in there? Like, what's the markup? Like, you're unless you're selling like at cost, like for this first dose to get these 10-year-olds who have no source of income. What are you doing? I question their business model.
I mean, you get them while they're young, and then they're hooked forever. That's part of it. I know that much. That's step one. I don't know.
It sounds like like if it's a 1 gram pill or a half gram pill, you're getting basically like 1,000 to 2,000 pills per kilo. So like 20 to 40,000 pills at $1.25. This is not $500,000. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I agree. They haven't worked out the logistics of exactly how this crazy drug that seems to have no positive.
They didn't have Excel in the 80s, and so I think they're just guessing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Didn't the drug in Alchemax, like with Spider-Man 29, didn't that also have like no benefit to anybody? It just seemed to just get people addicted and didn't really...
Yeah, for life.
Yep. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, remember, these are comic books that would be sold for under $1 because this is still in the 80s. That gets children addicted for life.
These children will be hosting podcasts in 35 years.
Yeah, exactly. In a way, we've all been infected.
Damn. Five pills for $4.
It's a quarter bin. The quarter bin.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. Is this and then it makes them feel like the kids are superheroes, and they're like, "Oh my god, is this an analogy for comics?"
Fever breaks, indeed.
Wow. Anyway, so now Scarface is at his club with his guys, and he's ordering food at the club, and some guy is like staring at him and like kind of laughing at, I guess, presumably laughing that it's a dummy who's talking, but also laughing at his voice and the B's being like G's and all that. So Scarface has the guy kicked out. But then Batman shows up, and he tells Ventriloquist, "Hey, Ventriloquist, I know what's up." But he doesn't he's not going to talk to the dummy. He just punches the head away. But the head keeps on talking from where it's at. So I can only assume the ventriloquist is throwing his voice over there. But
that's what it has to be, right?
Yeah.
But that's where you're also like, what the? As me, I'm still like, what the fuck is going on here? Is that thing possessed?
It seemed very early in the life cycle of Scarface to show that scene. I don't know, but it was nice. I'm glad they got it out of the way now.
Yeah. This is also my favorite era of Batman, where he goes and talks to people having dinner. He's not lurking in the shadows. He goes in full fucking costume to talk to somebody at dinner.
And he doesn't even have anything on them. He's like, hey, I'm fucking on to you. That's all. Just wanted to let you know.
I love it too, because as you're reading it, you're like, what are you doing, Batman? This was pretty. You kind of overplaying your hand, but then you're like, Batman, pretty clever.
Batman, world's greatest detective. So Batman, what he's been doing, he planted a little bug inside of Scarface's head so he can hear everything.
He put a little microphone on the wooden dummy head. I love it. This is the
good.
shit I live for. This is the stuff that makes me so happy. I also question, if Scarface is alive, would he feel that? I don't know.
I was thinking about that. If Scarface is like, hey, I got something in my head. But no, Scarface is just like, I want that Gatman dead. Because his B's are G's, and he keeps calling him Gatman. It's pretty good.
I do like that Batman makes a little joke to himself and kind of cracks himself up.
Yes, he's like, he'll be spending the rest of his life behind bars.
Sensible chuckle from Batman.
Good. It's such a great panel there. And Batman is listening in on them 24 hours a day for a few days to figure out what's going on. And he's just busting up random people, and he's just listening in. It's pretty.
But cool. He's got the one-eared headphone over his cowl.
Yes.
It's piping in the sound. It's too great. It's
good.
Amazing.
So meanwhile, Fat Man has gone through customs, and they're just like, wow, look at this fat dead guy. No problem, get him in. Then Batman's like, boy, I wish I'm tired of this guy messing up my name. Wait a minute. He didn't say Batman or Catman. He said Fat Man. What are they talking about? And he learns about, he's hearing clues about 10 million and a funeral parlor. And so he kind of tracks him to that place. And they're at this funeral parlor. They've paid the guy who works there to leave the body undisturbed, and they're starting to get all the drugs out. The ventriloquist is squeamish, and this is when I guess they confirm that it is the same guy, because Scarface is like, hey, I need a new straight man. You're too weak, blah, blah, blah. And ventriloquist starts puking, and so Scarface can't talk anymore because of that. There's puke in the next story arc as well. Puke in both of these.
A lot of puke.
A lot of puke. We then get a little fight scene. Batman pops in. There's dead bodies flying everywhere out of the coffins. Some the fever gets blown up in the air, and some guy gets it in his face, and then Batman gets it in his face. Batman's getting all crazed, and everything looks like fire because he's burning up, and he's he's dodging bullets, and he grabs a knife and he throws it, and he hits the dummy. Oh my god! And he almost kills the ventriloquist too, when he gets a hold of himself and gets out.
But he doesn't know the fatality because the game says finish him, but he doesn't know the combo for the fatality.
He just lets him fall over.
Yeah. And then I guess that's it. That was enough for them to get caught, because later the ventriloquist and Scarface are both behind bars. They don't take Scarface away from him.
They give Scarface a little outfit.
Yeah. Wait, what? I didn't even notice that. Scarface
he's got his own little prison fatigues.
Hold on, I gotta look at this. I didn't notice it. But
there he is. He's taking us out to the bars.
Scarface is like, let us out of here, blah blah blah. And the little cop who's watching over them is like, yeah, you're not getting out of here. Batman's caught you red-handed. It's over for y'all. And Scarface is the ventriloquist is like, well, hey, I was an unwilling participant. Just let me out, and I'll turn. I'll give you all the info and everything. And Scarface is like, what? You're gonna turn on me? And Scarface starts beating him the ventriloquist.
I'll murder you. I'll get you gack and glue.
Oh man,
I love
it was good stuff. It was a very fun 2-issue storyline.
Yeah.
a good introduction for Scarface as well.
We got buffoon mobsters who I always love with Scarface and his crew, and then Batman beats them up. I was surprised though, because like in any other comic where Batman gets high on drugs, he's gonna spend the entire next issue high, and that did not happen here. They just like fuck it.
Batman immediately over.
I gotta get clean. No, he's fine. Batman's fine.
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, this is what 88.
Yeah, we said. Yeah.
So Batman the Animated Series is what 92, 93. Like they already, and I think it's not until season 2 or 3 that they introduce Scarface. But it's like they just have him in it, and it's literally this story more or less. Like Batman fights like Rhino and these guys, and he's like, "Who's this new, gang leader?" And then it's Scarface and the Ventriloquist, and he's like, "What is going on?"
But yeah, well, there's such Dick Tracy villains. Like, I don't think you could like do a serious Scarface Ventriloquist movie, like in the Robert Pattinson world. Like, what is he? Who's gonna cast him? Like, he is absolutely like a Dick Tracy villain in the best ways.
But it's. I think this is a fun like melding of like that Batman Golden Age, which is very Dick Tracy, because there are like real stakes. There's people dying. There's stuff like that.
There's real drug addiction.
Yeah, with just craziness.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see the Scarface in a movie. I think that'd pretty. Not the Scarface movie, but like this.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work with like Robert Pattinson's Batman or like Christian Bale's Batman. Fine. Like, I think it'd be
you play up the psychotic. The divide.
I've been on this beat for Daredevil, and I understand they're bringing Daredevil back in some form on Disney, but like make it episodic. Just have like one villain a week. You don't have to do an overarching super plot every time. I'm sick of it.
They said Born Again is supposed to be like 18 episodes, which they may be doing that. I think he's supposed to be in She-Hulk also, which comes out this week, I want to say.
Yeah, just have. I just want one like 35-minute episode where Batman fights a puppet.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be super serious all the time. Just, give me, just like, Daredevil, he can have one episode where he fights a man on stilts, and then he can go back to fighting the Kingpin afterwards. I don't care.
Imagine if there was like, when Lois and Clark was on TV, if there was like a Batman TV show that like was alongside that.
Yeah.
How cool would that be?
Like in that era, yeah, because there's definitely like, there's like the 60s Batman, everything's like a two-parter.
Sure.
But yeah, like that's not really that way. I just watched the Sandman Netflix series, and the first half of it's all done in ones, which was really throwing me. I'm like, oh wow, we like everything is like just resolved at the end of each episode. It's just done in one story, which I think is how the first trade is, anyways. But it was very pleasant to see a supernatural Netflix show where it didn't have an overarching plot driving everything, and episodes were distinguishable. It was really nice to see.
Wow, flying in the face of binge culture.
It was weird.
Yeah. It's not like Hulu Runaways, where it's like the finale is them escaping like the end of issue 1 or whatever it was.
Yeah, because like that's the problem with a lot of the streaming stuff is like I can't tell you what happened different between episodes 2 and 3 of like the Daredevil Netflix show. It's just like all runs together.
It's one giant movie.
Yeah, but like that fight at one point was really cool. Yeah, that prison fight was cool.
That was a cool fight.
Yeah, but
that was a cool fight.
But that's the extent of what I've got. This was absolutely delightful. I definitely would have gotten my. How much did these cost?
Not even a buck at this point.
They took it off of the DC Infinite, whatever it's supposed to be. Yeah, but I absolutely would have got my money's worth. If I had gotten these issues, I would have been delighted.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 more to read. Let's.
Right. I'm excited.
Oh, they're here we go. They're 75 cents, $1 if you're in Canada.
Oh, so we could have gotten all 4 of these issues for $3.
That's right.
Nice. Cheaper than pills.
Cheaper than pills. Incredible.
Lifetime of addiction.
Yep. And then they jack up the prices.
They gave Batman comics to me free in cereal boxes, and here we are now.
Oh, jeez.
Sons of bitches.
All right. So Detective Comics 585. This cover, it's Batman covered in rats. Oh my god, what's going on here? So Batman's in the sewers, and he's like, all right, if my info is correct, I'll be putting away 4 other kinds of rats. Human rats. And he's, I guess he's just going after some random people who are down there.
Who does he think he's going after?
I don't know, like some gun trade. He mentions like
arms dealers.
guns or something, arms dealers. Yeah, but
He's wrong,
they're not
though.
important to the story.
Oh, is this okay? So he's going after people that are different than the one that Ratcatcher's got down in the basement. Okay.
Yeah.
He's going after arms dealers, and like he gets them or something. They're not important to the plot, though.
Okay, cool.
But meanwhile, there's these like old nobodies. They're escaping from a prison, and it took me a while to realize this is like a fake prison that's in like the sewers. And they're like, oh my God, hurry up. He's going to be coming back. But there's like one guy gets himself free from the bars, and the other prisoners are like, oh my God, let us out. And it's like, no, not enough time. He's going to be coming back, but I'll send help. And so he just like gets out of there. And I don't know. At the time I was reading this, I was like, oh, what? Who? They called the guy Judge as well. What? All right. So this Judge gets out of there. And so he's getting away, and then the Ratcatcher, I don't know if we hear his name yet, but he's like, all right, I'll just sick my rats after him. He's like chasing him through the sewers, and
he has my line specifically. There's no parole from the Ratcatcher.
There's no parole from the Ratcatcher. The Ratcatcher says he served his time, so that guy's got to serve his as well.
I absolutely misread who the Ratcatcher was on these first few pages. I thought he was like a Dexter style thing where he caught people that like ratted out the mob. And
I also, because I thought these people were like in a real prison and were like trying to escape from prison through the sewers, and the Ratcatcher was like trying to catch them to take them back to prison or just kill them.
And that was like an interesting, we're going to have an interesting vigilante for Batman to fight. That's not the case at all.
It's not the case at all. But I do like that it was kind of like Shades of Grey, not Shades of Grey, but just like a little hard to decipher at first, compared to how straightforward the last one was.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, all right, by the powers vested in me by the Gotham Sanitation Department, I sentence you to death. And this guy's making it to the surface, but all these rats are on him, and eventually he's dead.
Meanwhile, someone's shooting a bazooka at Batman and missing and killing his own friend.
Is that what happened over there?
The bazooka, like the whatever you call it, the shell goes through another guy and explodes into a wall.
Yeah, because Batman has a little thought bubble, the rocket launcher.
And then later he's like, that's the problem with the rocket launchers. They take too long to reload. He's played Halo. He knows. You can just dodge it and then use a shotgun or a sword or something.
That's the way to do it. And Batman, I guess eventually is like, hey, they're in the same area as all these rats or something. And he's like, hey, what's going on over there with this guy covered in rats? And rocket launcher guy is like, hey, pay attention to me, like whacks Batman in the head. So Batman puts this guy down, and then he goes to help this other guy. He's being ripped to shreds by rats. And then the rats go running away, and he's like, oh, that's weird. Rats don't usually attack humans, definitely not in packs. And then like go running away all at once as if they heard a signal. I do think I heard a high-pitched whistle. Okay. And so, the cops start to show up. Batman's like, all right, let me start to investigate here. He heads down into the sewers. And, he does kind of get a glimpse of the Ratcatcher as well. He's like, is this guy controlling the rats? What is this? Meanwhile, the other cops, they find this guy who's been all bitten up by rats and stuff. And they're like, don't touch him. He's like covered in bugs now. This is gross. But they recognize him. They're like, that's Judge Wyatt Hogan. Who's Judge Wyatt Hogan? I don't know. We'll find out later. And then Batman's down there in the sewers, runs up to the Ratcatcher. This is when we kind of see the prison, or we get like Batman mentions it, or the Ratcatcher mentions it. He's like, wait a minute, are you keeping prisoners down here? That's when I kind of realized what was going on. Okay. This guy's been keeping a judge down here, probably some other people. And the rats attack Batman, and then the Ratcatcher floods the pipes. Uh-oh. I kind of sped through those last few pages quick. Did I miss anything?
Well, that's the end of Batman.
Yep.
It's the end of Batman. I'm sure he's going to drown and die. That's it.
It's weird that he just ended right here.
That's a weird last issue of Batman. But then we got 586. Rats, where it's a nice little cover as well. We got the Ratcatcher with like a million pair of eyes back there for all the rats.
That's a good cover. Mignola had a cover, I think, of the first issue of this, but it was very clearly just like, just draw something, Mike. This is Breyfogle doing his own cover, and I think it looks great.
Yeah, it does.
So we see the other prisoners, and they start to hear like somebody's coming. They're excited because they think help is coming, but it's just the Ratcatcher. And he's like, "Nah, I'm never letting y'all out. Sorry." Then we have Commissioner Gordon. He's in this. He's with the coroner at the morgue, and they're looking at the body of the judge. And he was like, "Wow, this guy disappeared 5 years ago. I thought he was maybe just skipped town, or like, judge makes lots of enemies. Maybe he just got murdered somewhere." And they found a trail of his blood leading up from the sewers. So Gordon's like, "All right, send down a search party."
Which
then Gordon
is similar to Vince's like phrase logic on the fever stuff. It's like, 5 years you've been like secretly housing like half a dozen people in the sewers. Like, what are the logistics of how are you keeping these? I know it's they're in bad shape and everything, but it's just like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
it is pretty crazy.
Like, like I'm all it seems like a lot of work to keep four people like fed, and like
we get some answers. We get some answers about that. We'll get more on that in a bit.
It's so gross.
It is gross. But Commissioner Gordon is like, okay, well, Batman was on the scene here. Let me shine the bat signal. Maybe he's got some insight. But Batman is still like kind of coming to in the sewers after being all drowned and stuff. He's still kind of passed out. A bunch of cops are heading down to the sewers. Ratcatcher sees them coming down. He's like, oh, exciting. We're going to get more people down here. Very good. Meanwhile, Batman wakes up, and the stench of just being in the sewers is like, bah, he pukes up his guts. I think the caption says, "All right, finally, when his stomach is empty, he can get to work," and remembers the Ratcatcher. So now the Ratcatcher is hanging out with his prisoners. He's feeding them rats.
He catches the rats, though. Why is he,
right?
Maybe they're his friends.
There's rats that die as part of the cause, I guess, Vince.
Okay. Yeah, what's he gonna do? Waste them?
I guess that's true. Like, people who love their farm animals also slaughter their farm animals. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
I just don't see the penguin feeding penguins to his prisoners. They're so cute, though. They have little rocket launchers on their back, though. Maybe that's the reason.
Well, penguin rarely has prisoners, right? Also, penguins rarely... Like, I don't know, they're a little more special. He doesn't have, like, thousands of penguins, right?
I'm thinking purely of Batman Returns when he steals all of Gotham's children, and then he has little penguins with little rocket launchers on their heads.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, I couldn't see Catwoman feeding her cats to someone. that wouldn't happen.
That's where Ratcatcher's different. How is Ratcatcher different than all these other animal-based villains? He feeds those animals to his prisoners. Okay.
He's he's really min-maxed one resource, which is rats.
Rats, yeah. So we do get a little more insight into how Ratcatcher like got into this whole situation here. He's like, yeah, hey, one of the prisoners like, just one rat, and he was like, hey, it's better than the bread and the water you were giving me when I was innocent. No, it's not really better. And he's like, we had your... Oh, yeah, the Ratcatcher is like, even though I was innocent. And they're like, we had your prints on the knife, and we had eyewitnesses and everything. And Ratcatcher is like, it was justifiable homicide. That guy said I smelled bad. And even if it was true, we shouldn't have said it. So this is the story of the Ratcatcher. Somebody said he smelled bad. He killed them. He went to jail. And then when he got out, he got his revenge on everybody. That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much exactly what it
also
Taika Waititi and Suicide Squad. Yeah, I don't see that character doing that.
Yeah, this could also be a Batman animated series episode, except you would have to like make it so they're like, oh, the judge just had to go to the hospital. He'll be okay.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
like the part where he's actually killed by rats. That part you couldn't do, but the rest of it you totally could.
Yeah. I think Batman would be a little sick. I don't think he'd be like detoxing and vomiting up this much, but like absolutely, this is very. I can see a straight line to Batman animated series now that you point this out, Chris.
Yeah. So Batman, meanwhile, is like going through the tunnels. He finds some like tunnel repair supplies. He fashions himself a little torch, goes heading in. The cops are all heading in as well, and they head towards the rats, and they get all attacked by rats and stuff. I think they lose a cop as well. One of them, they're like, "We can't help him anymore. Get out of here!" Gordon now is on the phone with some guy who's in charge of these cops over here, and he's like, "Hey, you're the expert. What would make rats attack a human, huh?" This guy's like, "Well, there used to be someone in the department, Ratcatcher Flanagan. He claimed he could train rats to attack. But you know, that guy went to jail 15 years ago for murder. Hey, what a coincidence! Judge Wyatt Hogan is the guy who sent him to jail, huh?"
It's a real economy of story.
Yeah. So then Flanagan is down there with his prisoners, and he's like, "All right, Batman's coming at me. I feel like the jig is up. I'm just gonna murder you guys."
I did think that because I was like reading, like, why is he killing everybody? If he kept them alive for 5 years, why now? And then like, because the jig's up. Like he has to like it,
Yeah.
they explain it in the story like a couple panels later after I thought that thought. So I'm like, okay, cool. They thought of this.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's like he just killed a cop. He's like, the cops aren't just going to be like, "Oh well, we're not going to send anybody back down after this." Like,
Yeah, he's got
no, like, it's over.
Yeah, so Gordon's also getting some files from his men about all the other people who went missing within weeks of each other right after Flanagan got out of prison. And I'm like, you know, if a judge went missing and you had some other people who went missing, I feel like you could have connected some dots. But they just never did. I think one of the cops was like, "We just thought they were separate events."
Look,
Which,
I mean, the Joker was in town. We're like, did the Joker do this? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess they never followed up on it, I guess.
Gotham is too terrible a place to
Yeah.
live.
Yeah. People are getting kidnapped all the time, I guess.
Mysteries would be really hard to solve. I think you could probably it's like, it'd just be there one cop that'd be like, "I bet it's the Joker." Like, well, we'll follow that lead, man. Okay, and then that would be like his day. Like,
it's like the cops who always like the husband did it every time, where it's just like the Joker did it.
Yeah, just put it
Why
in the
would
Joker
the Joker
file.
kill this guy's wife? I don't know. It's crazy.
Probably the Joker.
he's crazy.
My panel of the week here is when the cops now. Oh, so hold on. Ratcatcher has only killed one of his prisoners before Batman shows up and stops him. But my panel of the week is the cops are all just like hanging out outside this manhole cover, and they're like, "Hey, someone's coming!" And they all point guns at the manhole cover, and then Batman pops his head up with a nice little smirk, and he's like, "Hey," and he's got the Ratcatcher there. So it's just a good smirk.
It's a very cartoony. It looks like a Mad Magazine type art style.
It is. Batman is very expressive. You skipped over the part though. Batman sets all of the rats on fire.
Oh yeah, it's like he's setting rats on fire left and right.
And then Ratcatcher, when he shows up and confronts him, he's like, "Oh yeah, Batman. Well, I've got an ace up my sleeve," and he blows his little rat whistle, and Batman's like, "Uh-huh. Well, what is your little trick?" And he's like, "This isn't working," and so he blows it again, and then Batman punches him, just like knocks him out immediately.
Batman's a rat murderer. Sad.
Not the Ratcatcher. He doesn't catch him.
Nope. Straight up murder.
No one ever calls him like a rat with wings either. I thought that was a missed opportunity. Maybe next time Ratcatcher shows up.
Ratcatcher does say something about how like bats don't belong in the sewer. That's for rats. But that's as much as we get.
So Alan Grant's first two story arcs, he went with a rat guy and a fat guy. And,
Ratman, Batman, and Fat Man.
Yeah.
I like the ending of this story too, which is as Batman's walking away, they're like, "Thanks, Batman," and they're like, "Batman, where did he go?" And he's already like disappeared into an alley, and then like a rat comes up out of the garbage, and it's like, "Where?" And he's like, "No, I don't want any trouble with you, Mr. Rat."
I've had enough rats for one adventure. Yeah. Yep. Very, very fun stuff, though. I think that this is a nice little era, nice little bit of, just kind of one and done stories that don't require any sort of major knowledge of anything. If you know who Batman is, you can enjoy this story and then call it a day.
It's yeah, you're right. I think it's a timeless Batman story. This could be anywhere in the Batman continuity. This could be like in his early years, in his later years. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You don't even know any of his like status quo at this time. I don't even know. It's just like
And these are just like, these aren't characters that you have any. You're like, oh, the Ratcatcher, of course. Like, there's not any. He's not in the Batcave. He's not like solving like this mystery. It's just like, yeah, there's just a weird new guy. I guess I have to fight.
Yeah, I love it. I don't say this is the greatest comic I've ever read, but it's pleasant. No. It's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how much is John Wagner. I guess we should probably give some credit to John Wagner as well with Alan Grant. But man, it's fun. I'm pleased that this was recommended to us. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'm almost dreading because I'm almost to Nightfall. I'm worried that it's going to be not fun because I know what happens, and it's like a 30-part story where Batman gets his back broken. I'm like, oh boy, is this going to not be the like fun done into Batman adventure that I've been reading for like the last, however long in real life? But it's been like 5 years of Batman comics.
And that's when Bane breaks his back, and then like Azazel or something becomes.
Azrael.
Azrael, okay, becomes Batman. John Paul Vincent or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Batman's like, you,
Valley.
new guy, you're Batman, instead of giving it to Nightwing.
Yeah.
Which would have made sense. But whatever. Like I said, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do know like it's Nightfall is like part 1 of like 17 or whatever, where it just goes on and on.
When it's like 3 big volumes at Barnes and Noble, like, it's going to be a little long. And it's not as long as Clone Saga, but it's long.
Yeah, it's longer than Death of Superman, which we've done for the show, and I think we sort of enjoyed.
I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it, but I don't think y'all enjoyed it enough for us to do World Without a Superman or Return to Superman.
Yeah, we haven't come back to it. Maybe one day, but yeah, I think this is a fun little era post crisis, post year 1, post year 2 even, where you don't have to like know a whole lot. It's just fun little in the style of like the classic comics. Now it's 2-parters instead of just done in ones, but they're not so decompressed that it's like part 1 of 6 fighting the Ratcatcher.
Yeah, but I mean that's more like 60s Batman, where like he looks like he's drowned. Turn in next time, same bat channel, which absolutely works for me with the 2-parter. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Now let's now that we've talked about good comics.
Yeah, let's jump into this one. Wasn't as bad as the last one. We're getting to Superman for All Seasons 4. It's wintertime. Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale. That last one. We do need to mention it because Luthor really got one over on Superman, and Superman had to watch somebody die in his arms. So Superman has gone back to Smallville to regroup, to collect his thoughts, to figure himself out a little bit. And this one is narrated by Lana Lang. She starts off by talking about how she thought she was going to marry Clark when she was younger. And she remembers the day that Clark took her out onto the field and held her hand. And she thought it was going to be a proposal, but instead he started flying. And she was kind of sad. She was like, well, it's not really what I wanted, but I guess you can fly. Okay. Meanwhile, back in the city, Luthor has his robots. No, they're not robots. They're humans in like suits, like protecting the city. Yeah. The Luthor Corps, right? They're like protecting the city. That kid from earlier in an issue was like playing with his baseball on a roof, and
he's got an apartment and then like a ledge outside of his apartment where he keeps his bike, but it's not like a railed-in balcony. It's just a skyscraper that he looks like he's at least like 20 stories up with no railing.
A kid should not be out there, or they should just put a railing on them.
It should not be accessible.
Yeah.
But the Luthor Corps guy is like, hey kid, go inside. Luthor is like also happy that Superman is nowhere to be seen. Lois is bored because there's nothing going on. She wishes Superman would fly by or something. She's also pissed at Clark for taking some vacation time. She's like, geez, how did he know it was going to be so quiet here without Superman around? And she starts to put 2 and 2 together, and she's like, wait a minute. Nah. Like, God damn it, Lois, you fucking idiot.
It is interesting. They're like cross-cutting with Lana's narration. That like that's when Clark revealed that he's Superman. So it's like Lana saying Clark Kent is Superman, and Lois is like, nah, that can't be it. But she's pretty good. It's an interesting cross-cut.
That is a good page.
Yeah.
Again, I've complained about it before, but Steve did go rolling in his grave, even though he was alive at the time, that Lois thinking to herself, is Clark Superman? Nah. a full page splash. Like, why?
It is, there's a lot of full page splashes in this comic.
There's
that I'm like,
2-page splashes in this comic that
yeah,
absolutely do not deserve it.
There's a ton of them. Back in Smallville, Lana and Clark are walking through the snow together. She'd rather walk than fly. They stop to make snow angels. I really love this panel. Clark is so happy at how his snow angel turned out. He loves it. It's great. He's never seen anything so beautiful. But they meet Pete at the general store. Pete is a little bit upset that Clark and Lana both left him. He's being a little passive aggressive about it, and we get no closure and move on to the next scene. Lana and Clark are about to have dinner with their parents, with Clark's parents. Chief Parker shows up to let them know that it's raining like crazy here, and the reservoir is running over, and the river's spilling out everywhere, and it's going to be some dangerous flooding. So the pastor is setting up some cots at the church for everybody to stay. But
I'm real incredulous towards this flood. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand we want Superman to get his mojo back and fight a natural disaster. That's the mechanism, right?
Yeah.
We've also established that this is a seasonal thing, which they did nothing with fall, and it's winter, and it's snowy. He made a nice snow angel. It's okay. There's no Christmassy stuff, but okay, that's fine. It's non-denominational. It wants to appeal to a white audience. I get it.
Yeah.
Why a flood?
I don't know.
For the winter when it's covered in snow? We could have a blizzard. We can't have avalanches. I think Smallville's flat. But we could come up with some other type of natural disaster. The power grid going out. I don't know. Something realistic. Something to help Superman get his mojo back. Maybe we could have done the flood with hurricane season during the last issue, because hurricane happened during the fall. I don't know. It just really bothers me. I'm like, why did you choose rain and the seasonal thing? You seem like you, and I guess we had the same beef with Batman the Long Halloween with we want to have a holiday themed killer, but we can't come up with all holiday themed killers. So we're just gonna brush over our premise that we sold this stupid book on. It really bothers me.
It's just 4 seasons though. You can come up with 4 things with a thing for each season. Right. But yeah, you're right. They just did Snow Angels and called it a day. All right, we'll get to more of my criticisms later about this flood here, but so Pa is like, hey, we'll be fine until the morning, right, Clark? Wink, wink. And Lana's like, hey, it probably helps to have a son who can change the course of rivers, huh? And the Kents are like, oh my God, she knows. She's like, yeah, I know.
I was thinking about how later, how tough of an angle is Lana doesn't want to let on in case she didn't tell his parents, and the kids aren't going to be to let it on. But we all know the score, right, guys? I like that kind of. They don't really do the dance, but I feel like they could have done it a little longer.
They could have done the dance, yeah.
It's also weird that Clark didn't tell his parents that he told Lana.
Yeah, why didn't you? Come on, Clark.
Right.
I feel like they should know that. But they're talking later. Clark's in bed kind of thinking about stuff. And Pa's like, yeah, I remember when I had my first corn crop and it was perfect. And I was like, man, I can make corn like it's nobody's business. And then my next 2 were terrible. And I learned how to work within my limitations. And I guess that's what Clark needed to hear.
Look, Clark, one time I went into the mine. I got all the way to level 60. I got so much rare ore. But then the next day, I came back. I was unlucky. I didn't get past level 15.
Yeah, but Pa, what if you never get past Medusa or Megara? You always get to her, and then you always lose, and you can never get farther than Megara. And then everybody tells you, you're going to get good at Hades, and you just don't, Pa. You just don't.
Turn on God mode. What are you doing?
Do you think 20 years from now in that reboot of Superman, it'll be Pa Kent telling Clark about how it's roguelikes are hard sometimes, kind of like life. It could happen.
Yes, that will be when he's like, don't save me, son. And then he'll go back to his like Farmville.
No, he's not. He's gonna be a streamer who plays Farmville. He's not gonna have a farm. That's gonna be Pa Kent in the future. I kind of want to read that version of Ma and Pa Kent.
Pa, no, I can spend $1 of real money to save you. No, it has to be this way, son.
We do not play gotcha games.
So then Ma, Kent, and Lana are hanging out. They're talking about Clark, and Ma's like, yeah, it takes the right woman to help show the right man the right path, that sort of thing. He's still our Clark. I think, Lana calls him Superman at some point. He's like, no, he's still just Clark. The next morning, Clark flies off to help deal with the flooding. Lana gives him a little kiss and some kind words about how, that young boy that she fell in love with is still in that costume. Clark is messing with the river stuff. Ma, Pa, and Lana are driving, I guess, to this. I feel like I need a little bit more explanation of is their home in actual danger? I feel like there were tons of hills all around there. They would have been fine, right?
They also waited overnight to then leave.
Yeah.
To not evacuate.
It seems like it would have been fine.
I mean, that's also a thing where it could be okay, we're gonna watch it. Oh, we need to fucking go. I can see that, but we'll leave in the morning. We're fine.
I needed a little more. I need a little more than that. Help tell that story about what's this flood actually doing.
Yeah, and Superman just throws rocks at it, so I don't really know what this flood is doing.
Right, what is Superman doing about a flood? And wasn't it just gonna be fine? Everyone was just gonna wait it out at the church. Whatever. Why couldn't Superman stay with Ma, Pa, and Lana? Whatever. So Ma, Pa, and Lana are driving. The bridge breaks or something, and they're in the water. There's tons of water. Oh my God, there is
the dam broke.
Water. The dam. That's right. The dam broke.
That makes sense to me.
Okay, fair.
I don't know why he threw rocks at the dam, but
God wants that. He just wanted to throw rocks at a dam. He carries the car back to safety, but his dad has fallen in the water. He goes and he gets his dad, and but what about the dog? And the dog is also okay.
I was really worried that Pa Kent was going to tell him to leave him. I really thought this is where Pa Kent. We lost Pa Kent. I know he dies a lot. He dies in a lot of stories, except for Lois and Clark, as mentioned. He's alive for the whole time, duration of that. But no, he doesn't let his dad die in a flood to protect his identity.
Yeah.
Point one, Jeph Loeb, Zack Snyder 0.
And that's kind of it. They get a nice little goodbye with him and Lana. Clark goes back to Metropolis. He's got a front page story about how Superman saved a small town from a flood. And Lois is still a fucking idiot. And she's like, how did he do that? And then we get that same kid trying to get his cat off of the roof of this damn skyscraper.
This kid wants to die.
He does. The Luthor Corps guy is like, citizen, and he scares him and he goes falling off. Thankfully, Superman's there to save him. And he meets the kid and he's like, hey, I remember you. I was like, oh my God, you remember me?
I don't remember him. You mentioned that he was in a previous issue. I don't remember him.
It was the very beginning of the second issue, I think.
Now he was Toxin, right? The scientist who died.
No.
No, the kid. He was just a kid.
Yeah, the 6-year-old scientist.
No,
he died and was reborn as Trevor Burbank.
No. So Luthor, he tells this Luthor Corps guy, he's like, hey, tell Luthor I'm back. And that's it. I for all the guff we're given this flood here, I did think this last issue at least, had some interesting things to say about the Superman. I mean, I guess compared to the last issue,
I liked Lana's opening narration about how she processed that whole event about being told that there were flying people in the world, and it was her friend Clark that she's known for forever that she thought she was going to get engaged to, and her whole history changed, whole future changed as a result of that, and so she ran away, and that's why he didn't see her for years. So that's cool. I'm down with this. I like the impact, and even like actually, I like all of the narration in all these issues of like what the idea of Superman means to real people. I like that, and I like that it changes narrators. I think there are good scenes in all of these issues, and then some fucking stupid shit, and not fun stupid shit. Like we just talked about, like with putting a little tracer inside a ventriloquist dummy. Like that's the kind of stuff I love. This is just kind of like characters acting dumb compared to how we know them.
Why didn't Lana just like go to Metropolis with Superman?
I mean, I understand that. She's like, oh man, this guy's gonna do other things, and he's gonna be like, I can get like why she just was like, this is fucking. I'm not on board for this shit.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
She's also 18. Like,
well, yeah, when she decides to run off, but it's like, yeah, that again. I know it's not fair, but it's like the cartoon answers this so much better. It's just because then she re-enters Metropolis as like a fashion designer who's been like abroad and like doing all this other crazy stuff because she ran away when she found out Clark had superpowers. I'm like, that's fine, okay. I'm just like, okay, so like now what? Are they a couple?
Mm-hmm.
Right. They didn't say anything about what she's been doing either. She did not have much of an identity of her own other than I'm gonna help Clark get over it.
Yeah. That scene with Ma Kent where she's basically like, oh, Clark found the right woman, wink wink. I'm like, this stinks.
It's not great. It was kind of there. It was a really nice art though. I think the art in this issue might have been my favorite, mainly because I know we complained about like, all right, all these full page spreads, but if there's not much story there, at least we get some nice big full page art though.
The snow is nice. It's a really good like Rockwell looking thing, and I think each issue like looks visually distinct as a result of the seasonal changes. It's just they didn't do anything story wise with them.
Yeah.
Like and yeah, Chris, I think you make a very interesting point because I really do like Sale's art in here. But like the choices of like this is your full page versus not, and I think you mentioned this last episode also, is a weird choice. But I like the snow. I think that more comics should change up their visual tone with the seasons like this. It looks good. I'm pleased with the coloring.
It looks good. I mean, I don't. Other than like I said, my one complaint is it's and I assume it's just Sale having a bigger say in terms of what he's drawing. That he is telling the story. I don't want to say lazily, but it's just like he wants to have these. There's no story here, so it's not like it's his fault.
Yeah.
But he wants to have these big splash pages. Instead of kind of doing more detail stuff. But again, there's no details. The story is nothing. Pete Ross is no one. The rest of Smallville is nothing. Like nobody cares. It's all stupid.
Yeah.
Clark's crisis of conscience is moronic. He never talks to Lana about why he's like, I'm a failure. Like it's stupid.
Oh. Yeah,
never said anything about it.
It's very frustrating. It's like this would be, I wouldn't be as negative on it if this was like the first, if this was like chapters 1 and 2 of like a 5-part story that was going somewhere. But this is it.
Yeah, it's not gonna like inform like any future things, and it's not like a complete story of like let's just tell a nice like complete year in the life of Superman or.
It still bothers, but it really could have been like a 1-year story, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds, and I know it's not fair to compare, but like All-Star Superman does such a good job of feeling like done in ones, and then you find out that it was like actually going somewhere.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, I get it. Like all this stuff kind of came together. And I know it's breaking news that Grant Morrison is better than Jeph Loeb.
What? We broke that story? Wow. Yeah, exclusive.
But it's just like, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted out of this is for it to like go somewhere with this done one stuff. And it just doesn't. It's very disappointing.
Well, the good news is that for a long read, it was our shortest long read ever, and I'm thankful for that. It was it's 4 issues, and we're done with it. And if y'all ever make me read Jeph Loeb again, I know we've been talking about maybe
Hush,
doing
hush,
Hush
hush,
at
hush,
some
hush,
point.
hush.
That's not coming up soon. Maybe one day y'all
Hulk
will
Gray.
drag me, kick me and
Spider-Man
scream
Blue.
towards Hush.
Jeph
but not
Loeb's Origin of Shatterstar in X-Force.
All right.
Ooh, shit.
Some of his worst writing.
We've got two new comics to start next time, our regular read and then our long read. So our regular read next time, we are going to be jumping back into some Swamp Thing. We read Swamp Thing book 1 and book 2 a while back. Did we read both of those?
Yeah, book 1, like probably in our first year of the show, probably back in 2015, 2016, and then we read the volume 2 last year, around October, spooky season time.
So we're getting back into it. Swamp Thing by Alan Moore and art by Stephen Bissette. We're doing this because it's the first appearance of Constantine, and Constantine is also in the new Sandman show that you mentioned, Vince, on Netflix.
Yeah, they mentioned like, oh yeah, and I worked with he calls him Constantine, which apparently I guess is how it's supposed to be, whatever. Yeah. But he said I worked with a Constantine, and then he meets another Constantine, and they're played by one of the, it's Joanna Constantine in the Sandman show. It's played by one of the Doctor Who companions from I think the David Tennant era. But it's really good. And I'm like, shit, I want to read some Constantine. And then we'd also said like, we're going to do Swamp Thing. So it just seems like kismet to like,
yeah, why not?
You know, I do want to read some Constantine. I want to get Kimberly into it. I think she'd love it.
So for people who do individual
book 2 of Swamp Thing, so good. If anybody wants to read a spooky read, man, that was good.
That was so good. It's really good. Yeah, go back and check out our October episode from that. Yeah, it's spooky season. I've started it. It's August. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a whole
I'm excited to get back into it. But this is Swamp Thing book 3. It's issues number 35 through 42 of the Alan Moore run. And then for our next long read, we're doing something a little bit different. We're not really doing one long series, but we're going to do a whole bunch of DC multiverse stories, specifically stuff where Earth 1 and Earth 2 kind of run into each other and have adventures together. So we'll kind of talk about all the stories we're doing there. We're going to do like a JSA, JLA team up eventually, some Batman, Earth 1 teaming with Robin of Earth 2, that sort of thing.
Maybe we should have read any of this before we did Crisis, and we're like, "What's going on? Who are these people?"
This is the opposite. Like the same way that like I'm like, oh, we probably could do another episode on Infinity War, and I would know everyone now.
Or that Avengers we did with Ultron, where you're like, "Who are these Avengers? Who's Ultron?"
You know what? If episode 200 is coming up, if we want to do a redo,
a redo episode. Oh,
now that we know everybody who this is, I'd be on board.
We'll think about that.
We've got a lot of April Fool's ideas already. That might be a fun one. Star Batman's coming back, but that's another time.
So next time we are doing an issue of DC Superstars number 17. This is from 1978. It's got the origin of Huntress in here, the death of Catwoman. I think there's like a few stories in this. It's like a 3-story deal. We're not reading all the stories. The Swamp Thing that we're reading is like 8 issues, and they're Alan Moore issues. It's going to be pretty dense. So for this, we're just going to read the one story in here that's got Huntress and Catwoman. We're going to call it a day.
And it is on DC Infinite. It's on DC Infinite, by the the way. There's like 4 issues of it. So
it's by Dennis O'Neil and Mike Grell. So I'm excited. I don't know anything about this Earth 1, Earth 2 interacting stuff. We'll see how it goes.
Again, we read Crisis, and you were like, "Who? What?
Who?
And you're like, Huntress is the daughter of Batman and Catwoman from the 1940s, and I'm like, that's intriguing. And then I'm like, hey, Huntress from Birds of Prey. And you're like, she's the daughter. I'm like, I've never heard that fact in my life, Chris. I think it's clearly things you've explained to me multiple times. I'm excited to see what it is, though. But yeah. I will probably guess Earth 1 and Earth 2 interact, because that was like the 40s version of the heroes, and then like the modern day version of the heroes. Is that how it worked or something?
Yes, it's basically, the idea is that in the Silver Age comics of starting in the 60s, DC rebooted everything, but they wanted to still be able to do Superman and Batman stories. But so they're like, oh, it's just a few years. It was kind of similar to what Marvel did with the the timeline shenanigans. But then they also at the same time, they're like, yeah, but what if we had our own thing where time was passing normally, and we could tell stories where like Batman is like in his 50s or 60s, or like Commissioner Gordon dies or whatever, where you could actually move things forward. And so that's kind of what
a reverse ultimate universe where all the continuity is still there. Okay.
And that's the one of the sort of classic like start of the Silver Age issues is you see Flash and Golden Age Flash like teaming up. So that's like right from the beginning. That was like we're bringing back these characters that are now like 15 to 20 years old.
I love it.
And now we're introducing new characters in this world because those guys are all old.
I love it. Cool. That'll be fun. Right. So again, that is DC Superstars number 17.
Mm-hmm. And Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Very exciting. What else is going on? What's going on with your Stupid Minds, Chris?
Right now, we are releasing a special episode we already did before because my co-host was on vacation. But if you want to listen to one of our, I would say, best episodes, Hard Ticket to Hawaii was reposted because my co-host Nick, formerly on this show, was in Hawaii, and just like the movie we watched, he had to battle a contaminated snake. Someone shot a bazooka at him.
Those are hard to reload, I hear.
Yeah, it was a normal vacation in Hawaii.
Awesome. Like how we're plugging Nick's vacation.
Yes. Well, it's just because we plugged it for our podcast.
Very good. Very good. Vince, what's going on with you?
Nothing on at all. Just playing my Steam Deck. Buying too many cheap video games. It's a good time.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Nothing for me either. School's about to be starting up soonish. It's exciting times. I'm taking a trip to Texas.
All right.
It's happening soon. Nothing else worth talking about.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool. I think that's it. Listener, thank you so much for listening. Vince, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Chris, I love you.
I can't say the words.
Puking. Damn it. Listener, we love you as well. A lot of puke. Listener, thanks for putting up with all that puke. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.